All right, so what questions do we have? Planning. Stephen, to answer your question, do you find digitally or pen and paper is more effective based on general persons? Pen and paper. Mostly because you won't have the easy entry point into other distractions. And so that's one. Two, I think we tend to focus better with paper. And three, there's been more research recently come out that's shown that we actually encode better when we handwrite as opposed to when we type. So for all three reasons, I think pen and paper is better. Alrighty, I don't have any questions. Yes, there will be a replay available for this. Unless she really fires me on the idea of it, Jess is going to split it into the presentation versus the Q&A section. So if you just want to go through the presentation section, that'll be split out. But if you want to go to the Q&A, then that's going to happen. So I don't see any questions. Judy, I saw that you're happy to be an example. Let's see if someone else wants to jump in here though.
Looks like Vera has a question about project first routines.
Okay. Let's see if Vera can come on. All right, I'll do this. Go ahead and pull Vera on. Let's see if she could talk for a second. All right, so we've got Vera on. She just turned her mic off.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you a little bit. It may take Zoom a second to catch up. So can you keep talking to me?
Yeah, on my laptop, and it's, hang on 1 second. I'm going to try and get my dogs out of the room.
Okay. Well, we know who let the dogs out. Okay. Sorry, I'll keep my day job. So Vera, we can hear you on that one. Where are you and what are you working on?
I'm in Ohio. Where is the I have my own business. So I'm a managed service provider for IT, and then I do creatives like build websites and things like that.
Okay.
And it's just me, so I'm only managing myself, and it's still a big issue.
Yeah. Turns out it can be harder to manage yourself than other people's.
Yeah.
All right, so the question is, and you're a little quiet, but I'm picking it up enough. So if I'm repeating your question, it's so that other people can hear me, or can hear what the question is. And so the question or challenge was leaving enough room for routines.
Yeah, I have things I have to get done each day, like check my QuickBooks, work on client tickets. But they're not really projects, they're just to-dos.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, if I let myself, that's all I'll do all day.
Yep. So I think in this scenario, so the challenge, in case you guys couldn't hear it, is she's got things like QuickBooks, she's got, keeping up with client records and things like that are there. So when you are a freelancer or solo, you're always you've always got three masters, as it were, right? You've got the strategic component of your business that you need to work on. You've got the client work that you need to do. And then you have sort of the administrative stuff, the working in the business. So you got working on your business, working in your business, and then working to support clients. Does that adequately explain things, Vera?
Yes.
Okay. So as that's the case, you can think about that sort of three-legged prong, or that sort of theory is like maybe you divide things up into threes in good ways. Or what I would say for you, Vera, is unless you have the absolute need to do daily routines, for instance, if you have to do QuickBooks every day, then this may not work as well. But I would also say this is where theming your day can come in. So that Thursdays, for instance, and this goes into more of the weekly block scheduler, or the, what do we call that? Jess, I think I named it correctly, right? Jess will drop a link in for us in just a second. But when you look at, say, Thursday might be a really good day for you to focus on QuickBooks and keeping your books up to date. And so you have an admin block or maybe a focus block allocated to that. every Thursday. And there could be CRM maintenance or client maintenance day that's a Tuesday that you just sort of do that and you theme it. And the thing is, it's not that you spend that entire day doing QuickBooks or, client record updates. It's just, when you wake up in the morning that that's how you need to like put those blocks going forward. And what you may find is that, a good half of your time is being taken up in routines, and that's frustrating. You have an option there as an entrepreneur. That option is to outsource some of those tasks to free up your time, or to sell against your actual constraints and sell like half your time, but no more. But you can't really pretend that work's not there because it's going to catch up with you in a way. Mm-hmm. Does that help?
Yeah, it does.
And so first suggestion here would be to try theming your days. And so you might have a financial management days that pull in QuickBooks, and you might also be able to do like any cash flow forecasting, like all of that sort of money stuff. Mm-hmm. You do that on a certain day. You might have another day that's sales focused, because we know how much we freelancers love to sell. Right. And so that's where you do the outreach. That's where you make sure any proposals, that's where you make sure all that stuff is done so that you can, know what to do. And then you might have 2 or 3 solid days of just working through client projects.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah.
One other thing that this may do for you, Vera, as I've worked with clients on this one, is whenever you have those sort of like financial stuff, financial to do. I got to do that. I got to get to that. I'm going to forget. As you lean into it, your brain will start to think, oh, that's a Thursday thing, or I'll put it in a Thursday bucket. And then Thursday, when it's, money management day, that's when I'll go through there, look at that list of all the things, and I'll decide what to do with that thing. But because that task has a place, you can actually let it go.
Okay.
Any other questions while I got you?
I don't think so. I'm going to start with that, and then, that does.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks for the question, Vera.
Thank you.
All righty. It looks like most of the questions we're having are less about how to use the planners, which are fantastic, and more about, like, Deborah, I see your question. Christian Mason, I see that question. I just want to make sure if someone has a burning question of like where stuff goes, I'm happy to answer that. I'm also happy to answer the questions that we have here. I just didn't want someone to leave, but like, I still don't know where stuff goes on the planner. But maybe we did a good enough job of that with the overview. But until then, I'm going to jump into, let's go ahead and bring Ray on and see if Ray can talk.
Okay.
All right, Ray. We can hear you. Where are you and what are you working on?
Okay. Well, I have a pretty creative day job that has lots of projects and lots of things that I have to keep track of. But then I've got like my own creative hobbies that I've been trying to figure out how to get in there. So my struggle is figuring out, like, if I start using this planner for my work, it's going to fill everything up and I still won't have time to do all my writing, because I do writing. I blog, I write, I play video games, and all of those sort of tie in together. So I'm just trying to figure out a good strategy, like start off, my thought right now is just to start off doing this only on the creative stuff and ignoring work. But I'm not sure, because when I look at a day, like a Monday, I'm blocked until 10 p.m. So I know I can't do anything creative that day. That's good, that's easy, but just, I don't know. That's what I'm struggling with.
Good, I totally understand that. So sometimes what happens, Ray, is that the constraints of the planner are showing you the constraints of your life. Mm-hmm. And that's super frustrating. So it's not so much the planner, it could be that, but I also understand it's literally, what do I write stuff and how do I not fill up the planner? That both can be happening at the same time. Would it be helpful for you? As I was talking, I mentioned that if you've got a full-time day job that's driving stuff, well, let me ask the question this way. Do you need the productivity dashboard for your work projects, or is that a system that your team uses that, you don't need any support on with that?
I think I'm using a bullet journal at the moment for that, and it's been working pretty well for the last 8 months. But it didn't help me at all with creativity. So capturing tasks and getting them done, it's been great at doing.
Okay. I think you have an option here. Or you have many options because you're a creative person. You're going to come up with two to four others that I won't think of. But one option is to, so you mentioned bullet journal. One way you might be able to do this is to use especially weekly and monthly productivity, or the weekly and monthly momentum planners as the organizer for maybe 2 different journals. One that's for work, one that's for your, side projects. And so you literally don't have to write nearly as much in the bullet journals as far as, what projects you're working on today, and you can use it to capture smaller level stuff. I've seen people do that. I'm leery of saying use 2 different planners. Sorry, I'm leery of saying have a work momentum planner and a creative project momentum planner, because what we will do is we will overfill both of them and won't see the constraints that we're actually working in.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So what I'm curious about is whether, let's speak less specific or less generally. This week, let's talk about this week. What are your focused creative projects that you're working on this week?
That is a good question. They were drafting a story and last week, but drafting a short story that was the next one in a long series of stories, and then also doing initial planning on a short story that I'm writing this month.
Okay, so
I know that they're very similar, but
but that's okay.
It's early in the month. I don't do a lot of screenshotting till later.
Okay, so so you're drafting a short story, and then you're charting a new short story.
The first one's more of a chapter, but yeah.
Okay,
I probably said
chapter,
story,
but you get it, right?
Yeah.
So those would be your 2 outside projects. Like if work was taking up all 3 of them, all the if you were using your 3 for your economic work projects, these would be your 2 that you have remaining left over. And so I would say in that sort of scenario that you give yourself no more than 2 week size or month size or quarter size creative projects at any given time.
That makes sense.
What I would want to remind you about is like personal growth projects might also need to go in there too. Like, if you were wanting to go travel France, or you were wanting to work out or run a Tough Mudder or do roller derby, all of those types of things would come against your 2 projects.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So really kind of one.
Do what?
Kind of one project that I get a week, and then one for myself, and then the rest is all work. That makes sense though. It feels about right.
Yeah. And that's where I hope that this will encourage you to finish that 1 week size project, because until you let it go, you can't move on to the next one. Right. And so that's the focus for it, or that's the benefit of the constraint is like, I really want to do that next short story. It's like, well, you can do one of 2 things. You can stop working on the one you're doing and work on a new one, or you can finish the one that you're doing faster so that you can get to the next one.
That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So you might have a 3-1-1 thing going.
I think so.
Cool. Any other questions while I've got you?
That was the one I could think of right now.
Okay. Thanks, Ray. You rock.
Thank you.
Okay. So Jess, let's just keep them going in the queue. We got until 2:30, and it looks like we have a bunch of great questions. So as you see them pop up, we'll just keep them going.
Yeah, it looks like Deborah had a question about how do you handle your plans going to the birds when life interferes, but you already have a plan for the week?
Oh, Deborah, I could tell you so many songs about that one just this week. Yesterday was one of those days where like just getting through the day is a win. Okay. So I feel you on that. So the general principle that you may not like, Deborah, is when reality change your plan. Because it turns out trying to make your reality fit your plan is an exercise in frustration, and it doesn't work out so well. So that's the first thing. Just put a link in there. Reality does have that way. So the plan is just a guide for the week. And when that changes, you change with it. Now, what to do? Doesn't mean that you just write everything off. That's, I think, where you do the triage and you start looking at the difference between those projects that have real deadlines versus those projects that have like good to be done deadlines, and start renegotiating. So you're first going to start with those things that have real deadlines, and you're going to bump everything else. If those are projects you committed with other people, I highly encourage you to send a quick email and say, hey, I had someone got sick in the family and it's really upset, everything that I've got going on. I'm not going to be able to attend to this. Give me a week and I'll come back with in about a week, I'll come back with a tighter timeline of when I can start getting it. So you give yourself some breathing room, but focus on those things where if you don't do it, you're legit going to be in pain. Like, you're going to be in risk of getting fired or, having one of those management talks, which none of us want to have, or really letting down your collaborative partners. So for instance, we've had that going on for the last couple of weeks behind the scenes at PF. We're coming up to a book launch next week, and there are just certain deadlines. I can't go to my publisher and be like, hey, like Angela's been sick for 2 weeks. Can we back up the deadline, or can we back up the publish date? Can't do that. Right. But there are other commitments that I can say, hey, I'm not going to be able to meet this because of this reason. So get ahead of it. Don't assume. Here's the thing that we do, Deborah, not you, because you may be way smarter about this than I am. But we assume that when life shatters our plans, that we're going to be able to catch up somewhere on the backside. Like, oh, that happened, but I'll be able to catch up. But I'm never able to catch up. So assume you're not going to be able to catch up in that sense, and that you just need to figure out how to add the amount of time that you lost or that went sideways to the deadlines of the projects. So that would be what I would say, but also just link to a post that goes into much more of that. And I think that could be helpful for you too, Deborah. Okay, next question.
Julie had a question about setting intentions ahead of time, and I kind of talked a little bit about it.
Okay. What this has meant is that I get frustrated when I don't get anything that I plan to get done that I intended to. I've been using planning as a logging system, getting work done. That could be a good conversation if Julie would want to talk about this. So Julie, would you like to talk about that, or would you just like me to talk about it generally? Okay, go ahead. Let's pull her on, Jess. Hello, Julie.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Thanks for sharing your camera. Where are you and what are you working on?
I'm in Okotoks, Alberta, Canada.
Okay. And you're working on?
Pardon?
And you're working on?
I work from home. I own my business, so it's kind of a disaster this year.
Good disaster, bad disaster?
A busy disaster.
Too much of a good thing?
In February.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to keep track of everything that's going on between work and business has been challenging.
Okay.
So I've been trying to use the planner all year. I got it last year at the end of the year, set it up for the whole year. I have it in a 3-inch binder on my desk, like right front and center. But what I found early on was I would I would set tasks to do for the day, and then I wouldn't end up doing them. Like I'd end up going and doing something completely different. And I'm like, I didn't get what I intended to get accomplished, done.
I'm guessing that the project that you actually did was something that somebody asked you to do or was related to client work or something
It's
like that.
client work, yeah. So
Okay.
I think by doing this session, it's kind of been okay. The minute details of each client don't necessarily have to go in this planner. They should be in something else that I keep track of what needs to be done with that. But I do need to block off time and respective enough of time to know how much work I need to do, like those
Okay.
focus blocks, right?
Yeah. So are you a morning, afternoon, or night owl? Or when do you work best?
I actually split. So I'm most productive basically after my son goes to school till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I find I get a lot of my data entry done between 8 o'clock at night and midnight.
Okay. So 9 to 1 is like your power window.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I really
What type of client work do you do?
I think the more challenging stuff that I have to do investigation on, you know, I literally have to dive deep into it and kind of figure stuff out. Definitely the later night is like no brain. I'm just doing data entry kind of stuff for sure.
Okay. Have you set up expectations with your clients such that they have legitimate claims on your time before 1 o'clock?
I usually set a lot of my meetings before 1 o'clock.
Okay. And that's because after 1 o'clock, your son's home from school and it's harder to have a focused meeting?
No, I just start losing energy, and like my son gets home about 3:30. So there's usually like 2.5 hours with kind of like, I don't have energy to do anything. Kind of like I need a nap kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to honor that afternoon period, which is quite normal for many of us. I think what we have to start looking at is from maybe like 9 to 11. Essentially, you don't answer email, you don't get involved in client projects before 11. Because that I think might be the only way you can carve out some focus time. In my experience, by the time we have that first call, or excuse me, after we have that first call, we're sort of in that mode of thinking and reacting and doing and checking email and doing those types of things. So the gig is already up when it comes to focus time. And so the question would then become whether it's in your schedule enough so that you schedule meetings between 11 and 1.
Yeah.
And you do your focus work 9 to 11. And then still take the rest of the breaks the way that you're doing. I think on a call where maybe we had a little bit more time, what I would be diving into is what is it about the work that you say that you've been doing that either scares you or makes you emotionally uncomfortable, that it's easier to bump it and not get into it than to do it. There's some fear or there's some weight that's under those types of things. And that's normal in some ways because the more it matters to us, the more we'll thrash, the more afraid we can be of it. But I think there's probably like a no-win scenario that's operating on you. Like if you do those things, it's going to create something that maybe you get even busier and you don't want to be busier than you are. Or, you know, you'll have less time to spend with your son, or you won't know how to do that new thing with the current clients that you have. But I think there's some no-win scenario in there that's keeping you from actually doing that work. And it's not about the planners. It's not about the time. It's about that story you're telling yourself about the outcome of that work and what it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
So, and congrats on having a super full business, right? The downside of that is unless you intentionally cap how many clients you're going to serve, you're going to end up in a position where like that working in your business takes over any sense of working on your business and driving it forward.
Yeah.
And about the only way you can manage that is to set an upper limit of clients that you're going to take, which does mean capping your income, but also it can help you like do the things that you need to drive your business the way that you need to go.
Yeah. I already have intentions to hire somebody in January to help me during tax season, kind of thing. So I already know that's coming for sure.
Okay, cool. Cool. I'm not sure if this was helpful for your question.
No, it is. I just had to change my mindset on how to use the planner more than anything.
Mhm.
I was kind of using it as validation to the projects. I was like, when I thought of projects, I was thinking all my client work are like a million different projects, but that's not necessarily what it is. You know, I've kind of wrote down different goals, and then I'll do projects based on that aren't necessarily linked to individual, like the individual work itself.
Yeah. So something just as a mindset piece and a practice piece that I would encourage you to work on is treating your business as if it were your first and best client. Like, how would you plan differently? How would you operate differently if you treated your business like it was the business that paid you the most, that had your best customers, that had your best work, right? And prioritizing that, which largely means writing it like you put the work that needs to happen first, and you actually do it, as opposed to prioritizing client work, which means in some ways saying no to client work or saying no to client request.
Yeah.
But every time you say, in your current context, every time you say yes to client work and yes to client request, you're saying no to your first and best business.
Yeah. And I've definitely got to that position that I can pick and choose what my clients are, for sure.
Good.
Like I've been able to turn down people that have not fit what I need. So I'm definitely getting there. And I think the new year with the Momentum Planner, I'll be able to see a lot of those goals.
Yeah. Good. So unfortunately, the planners are not going to really help you do like 2 full-time jobs. And so when that happens, I'm sure I'll be a rich man in figuring that out. But so in the meantime, it sounds like just focusing on that balance of working on your business, working in your business, working with clients, and making sure that there's the adequate amount that's needed for each in the limited time that you have available, and being more boundaried when it comes to the working on your business stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think going forward, even in this last quarter, to be able to time block it out and actually know how much time it is taking me will definitely help me better quote for the clients in the new year, to kind of be like, wow, this is how much it actually takes me to do this stuff. So
yeah, barring that, take how long you think it takes you to do, and then multiply by 0.3, and you'll probably be closer.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much for jumping on.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I have a quick, I can probably answer. So this last one of the day, and this one's for Justine. So her question is, in project planning, in regards to project planning, what if you have more than, what if you have more than 5 projects at work that meet momentum happening each month, even each week, as well as fitting in time for study commitments? Okay. So part of it, and is a sort of a mirror image of what I was just saying to Julie, is being like, if you have a 60-hour a week job, it's going to get a lot of your time, energy, and attention, and a lot is going to be going on that. So what I would say for Justine is, what's the best way of saying this? I think you're going to be on like the Ray scenario, to where you have at most one project outside of work that you can focus on until you get some of those work projects off your plate. But remember, it is entirely possible that your work, your day job fills up to all available time, meaning the more and more you take on, the more and more that it's going to be the appearance of you have to get these done. So you start with, you have to get 4 done, and then you'll take on a new project, and then you have to get 5 done, and then you take on a new project and you have to get 6, when really 4 was probably where it was. And I know that's not super helpful, and I need to dive in a little bit more, Justine. Love to talk about that on our next monthly momentum call. What I would say on this one though is be super clear that if your work is requiring a lot of your time, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not going to go into the quit the day job sort of thing that really frustrates me. Just understand that the cost of that is there may not be enough room for Justine to do the things that she wants to do outside of that, just because you're being drawn down. And if that works for you where you are in your career, that's great. If you're if that's not working for you, you might have to make some other changes and renegotiations with your boss. Okay. As much as I would love to continue to jam, we said we're going to jam for about 90 minutes. It's been 90 minutes. Really appreciate all the feedback over in the chat window. So it's super helpful. That's why we keep doing this. This is a quick notice. The book is coming out on Tuesday. It's going to have a lot more supplementary material. And again, we're still trying to figure out where we can get what information. So that's going to be, you go to startfinishingbook.com, learn more about that. Thanks for the pre-orders. Thanks for the support there. 2 reminders here. 1, planning is a continual process, right? More importantly than staying on the planning horse and staying on the productivity horse is learning that the journey is getting on and off as you fall off and as you get kicked off and as life happens. So don't focus so much about whether, like, man, I'm so off and I'm in the groove and all that. Like, that's not the point. How are you getting back on? How are you getting back on? How are you focusing on where you need to go today? And how are you taking better care of yourself, right, along the way? 2, we have monthly momentum calls. You've heard me reference them 3 or 4 times. We do this every month, the second Monday of every month. We love questions. They're Q&A based, so I don't talk for 40 or 50 minutes the way I did this time. So I would love to see you on there. As things come up, things will come up. Remember, the planners are like those jeans you buy at the store where they look and feel good at the store, but you take them home, you wash them, and they rub in all the wrong places. That's normal. The goal is to make the jeans sort of grow into them and work for you. So thanks so much for your time today. Look forward to seeing how this helps you start finishing things that matter to you, and keep us in the loop. See you next month. Until next time, start finishing and stand tall.